listening to Chris Talks Cars on Cartoon Channel. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Chris Talks Cars. My name is Chris Goodin, and I am joined, as always, by a man who wants to LS4 swap your LSA, Mr. Brandon Cole.
Kind of the same thing. But hey, guys, yeah, I'm back.
It's like a front-wheel drive conversion, though.
Yeah, that sounds pretty terrible.
Yeah.
For the record, I would not do that.
It's all conjecture. Things he says in our private chat is much different. We'll see. I'll post him one day. You guys can see. I teach this guy everything. It's kind of adorable. So big week. It was LS Fest West this weekend, which was a lot of fun. Saw many LS4s, which kind of made me think about that intro. It was so windy, though, that they weren't drag racing. Cletus and James were there. I guess James blew his engine on Friday because they were working on it all night, and it was on a lift the whole time I was there. And yeah, it was pretty rough. It was super windy. The weather was cool. That was nice. Saw some good off-road stuff. A lot of LS swapped Broncos. Kind of
LS
disappointing.
swapped everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was LS Fest, so I guess that's
Right.
kind of silly of me to be surprised. But yeah, that was insane. I took a lot of somewhat decent pictures. I'm sure Brandon will be posting those in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm trying to post a little bit every day. But yeah, definitely got some good content. Keep it coming. Our new and improved cartoon channel 2.0 is now on Instagram. So give us a follow at Cartoon Channel.
Yep, and we will have those links in the description below on YouTube and in iTunes and all that. Trying to get this more of a streamlined, focus production instead of being so willy-nilly, and that's my fault. So Brandon's keeping me in line.
Keep it in line, yeah. So let's kick this off. What we got first going today?
So first thing, new thing, we're going to do a segment this week in automotive history. So roughly this week, within a couple days in April, in 1921, the first motorcycle police set out on patrol in London. So that's a pretty historic moment in motoring and policing, I suppose, is the first non-horseback form of patrol. Actually, they might have had bicycles, but those aren't, you're not going to pursue anybody in a bicycle, really.
It was at this moment that they were able to hide from you so they could like set up stings and give you tickets.
They at that moment, even before the advent of Doppler radar, were hiding behind bushes and tagging motorists for going what they felt was too fast. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. The long dick of the law will get you, even before the technologies that are supported.
I feel like a motorcycle cop almost got me today. Oh, yeah, that pucker moment when you pass him, he's hiding.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but after I got that 60 over ticket, your boy's a 5 over and set the cruise control kind of guy.
Same.
Yeah, it doesn't make it any less clenching. Like, I'm doing the speed limit and the cop is passing me and I'm still like, ooh, what am I doing?
Yeah, right.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Although I guess right now is probably not the best time to be slandering our boys in blue. That being said, in 1948, the Blue Oval produced the first new model, the 49 Ford, as the first new model post World War II, and it was the first new model by any of the big three post World War II. So once again, Ford Motor Company blazing the way.
Always innovative.
Yeah, it's pretty iconic. It's obviously not as iconic as the 55 or any of those, but Yeah, still a beautiful car. Still like very the curvy bootleggery style. It's not my personal cup of tea. Like some people get super into that, but I can appreciate it.
Sure, yeah, I can appreciate just about anything really. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the 40s era cars. Really, I think the late 50s and then definitely in the 60s and 70s. That was when I really start liking those body styles.
Yeah, the 70s were a tricky era because like the 60s, they're just trying to like figure out the muscle car, I feel like. And,
yeah, well, the late 60s, that was like the epitome of like the muscle car era. And then like the early 70s, it carried into it a little bit. I think by mid 70s, like I guess the EPA just hammered them and everything just got really crappy.
Well, and this is kind of sacrilege as a Ford guy. I wasn't a huge fan of Mustang body styles till, I mean, honestly, probably a nice Fox body, like the 60s, like especially the 64 Mustang and all that. Like, it's historic and I love what it represents, but sure. I just don't.
The little 289 doesn't do it for you?
Not so much. And then it's just, I don't know. It's just age, I guess. You don't appreciate it, but
of course Shelby got a hold of them though, and he had the GT500 and 350s, and those are probably the ones that I really like. But yeah, I'm with you on that. I wasn't a big fan of anything to the Fox body aside from the Shelby one-offs.
Yeah, and like this, even the 71 Mach 1, like that's a giant boat. Like it's not my thing, but whatever. In 1987, Chrysler buys Lamborghini, which, as we know, is now owned by the Volkswagen Group. But I want to say that was, I'm not going to say it because I don't know.
I actually didn't know that Chrysler bought them.
On this day in 1987, Chrysler Corporation purchased Lamborghini for an estimated cost of $25 million. Oh my God. So that was there's individual Lamborghinis that cost more than that now. Could you imagine buying the whole Lamborghini Corporation for $25 million?
Now that you talk about it more, I feel like I did read something on that, and I think they were having financial trouble, and that's why it went for such a good price.
That is,
if I'm not mistaken.
In fact, the case. Yes,
okay.
That is it. And that was the first time Lamborghini was sold.
Interesting.
Because it was started in 1967, as people may or may not know, in the most gangster way possible. So Lamborghini was a tractor company, an agricultural company, and I forget the exact way it happened, but somehow Ferrari slighted him and said that like he wasn't good enough to buy his cars or something. And he's like, "Oh, really?" And then he started making sports cars.
Yeah, I think the history's gray on there. We could look it up, but we'll just run off the seat of our pants here. I believe they actually worked together for a short time. And then there's some sort of a feud, and Lamborghini was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go do my own thing." Gotcha. But another thing, I believe at the time that Chrysler acquired Lamborghini, Lamborghini had a role in developing the Viper V10.
Really?
I want to say that's true.
Well, I mean, it would make sense because Lamborghini's got a history with V10s.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I think it was really good at the time. And
granted, the Viper V10 is probably 3 times the displacement of anything Lamborghini built to that point.
Hey, that's the brother of a muscle right there.
Hell yeah, man. I love it. Dodge probably took the design Lamborghini head and was like, "Yeah, why don't you go ahead and pump that up about 50% there, friend?" Yeah,
they probably wanted to make a 5.0. Like, nah.
No, we're going to need at least 8 liters.
Yeah. Now what it ended up being like 8.3 by the time they're done.
Yeah, and that was before the oh man, who's that company that makes those 3,000 horsepower ones? Callow. That's before Callow got a hold of them.
Callaway.
No, not Callaway. Is it Gallo or Callow? It's not Callaway.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about then. Yeah, it's Callaway normally worked with like Corvettes, I believe. I know Hennessy, I think they did a
Calvo, Calvo.
Okay. Not familiar with them.
Yeah, though. So they are, you know who Underground Racing is?
Sure.
They do all like the 3,000 horsepower Lambos and stuff.
Okay.
Calvo is that to Vipers. They make like the dry sump 3,000 horsepower sequential transmission, like just freaking units.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, they're pretty great. They got a couple of videos on 1320. Next thing, this will be especially special for you as a fan of the Evo. On this April 22nd in 1870, Mitsubishi was founded with 3 old steamships.
Huh.
Yeah, after purchasing
what year was this?
1870.
Oh, okay. Damn, they've been around a while.
Yep.
I know that
was
they were off.
Became the first Japanese business to offer overseas mail delivery to China. Yeah.
Seems like they've been involved in just about everything as well.
It's a pretty direct line from direct mail delivery to China to the 4G63. It's pretty direct.
Well, they made the Zeros for World War II as well.
Oh, I mean, if you know Mitsubishi, there's literally nothing by them you can't buy, really, like TVs, air conditioners, batteries, cars, obviously, forklifts, like heavy machinery, backhoes, excavators, like literally
I guess
commercial trucks. I mean, it's pretty insane. They're in almost every aspect of life.
Aspect, yeah. Yeah, they're pretty much involved in everything. So it's no surprise, I suppose, if you really think about it.
Yeah. April 21st, 1967, GM produces, and guess what number vehicle in 1967?
A million.
Oh, I mean, literally 100 times that.
100 million. I guess that was a bad guess.
Yeah. Let's see here. In 1967, Janesville, Wisconsin earned its place in automotive history when a Nantucket blue Chevy Caprice coupe rolled off the assembly line there, becoming the 100 millionth GM vehicle produced. This Caprice was $3,087 and had a 395 cubic inch V8.
That'll do.
Hell yeah, brother.
395 or 396?
This says 395.
Interesting.
As accurate as automotivehistory.org can be taken.
Yeah. Okay.
April 20th, which is last week, but 2008, Danica Patrick becomes the first woman to win an IndyCar race.
Oh yeah, I've always been a Danica Patrick fan. She's made a lot of debuts in many different types of racing, like NASCAR as well.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen the Adam Carolla documentary Uppity, it's about I just forgot the race car driver's name. Hold on a second. It's about the first black F1 driver, and he's talking about when he's qualifying at Willie T. Ribbs. Yeah, when he's qualifying at, what's the F1 track in Florida? I'm just botching this story completely.
Daytona?
Yeah, qualifying at Daytona, and like his pit crew'd been messing with him and like screwing his car up, and he was trying to qualify, and he literally took his brake foot and held it on top of his gas foot so he couldn't lift, and he's like, I'm either going to qualify for this race or I'm going to die trying. And like, just the freaking set on this guy. I forget how we got off there, but yeah, I think it's on Netflix. If not, it's definitely on Amazon. It is worth a watch.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
Oh, because Danica Patrick won the Indy race. That's how.
Yeah.
And then on April 18th, which is a little bit farther back, but still since we recorded, the Ford GT40 makes its public track debut.
Oh, yes.
Yes, which, as we know, is very historic.
Driven by Carroll Shelby, I believe.
I don't, let's see, let me expand this out here. Made its debut a few weeks early at the New York Auto Show.
I mean, you watched Ford versus Ferrari, right?
Oh, of course.
Well, it was Carroll Shelby, I believe.
It wouldn't surprise me that he was kind of their guy back then. Yeah, it doesn't say, but that's probably a pretty safe assumption.
What about this week in Cartoon Channel history?
Oh man. Well, that's a depressing week in Cartoon Channel history because
it's not, man. No, this is good.
I just got back. Oh, you talking about this week right now?
Just in general, man.
Oh, well, a year ago, I just got back and COVID had shut everything down and I was probably putting my trailer up for sale. So,
well, next year we'll be able to talk about Cartoon Channel's first build.
Rebirth, relaunch.
Yes.
Hell yeah. Oh, something that is not in the plan, but I want to talk to you about. I don't know if you noticed in some of the pictures I sent, but Holly has this new double throttle body LS intake and it looks freaking sweet. I don't know how practical it is, because now I feel like you're just increasing your cost by having to run 2 throttle bodies. But it looks pretty sweet, so I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of those running around.
For LS, I assume?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't put it on Coyotes and everything else, but yeah, it's like, so imagine a long runner intake and four runners come up and curve out. So like the left bank comes up and curves to the right. And then it's got like a plenum and a throttle body. And then if you threaded the other 4 cylinders through the fingers of the other side of the intake and curved it over, it's got like another plenum and a throttle body.
I believe that's like a cross plane intake or something like that.
Well, it's not. I mean, yes and no, maybe, but it's not. They don't ever come together. Like there's no. Even a cross plane intake has 1 throttle body. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I know what you're talking about.
These never cross. It's basically like 2 4-cylinder intakes.
Yeah.
I don't know what the benefit is, but it sure looked cool.
Hey, that's the benefit. Looking cool, right?
That's true. So that's it for this week in automotive history. What do we have next, sir?
Well,
some EV updates.
I wanted to talk about Cartoon Channel's new project vehicle.
Ooh, yes, the Project Roll Coal.
Yes, Project #Roll Coal, ROLECOLE.
Roll Coal.
If you spell it right, you're wrong. Okay.
Spell it right, you're wrong.
Project Roll Coal is now in full swing. It is a bone stock 2003 Ram 2500. I've just got some basic stuff posted on Cartoon Channel, and I'll be updating it as it goes along. So it's just now gotten its gauges. It's got a built transmission in it, and it'll be getting. Which
was a fun surprise. You didn't know when you bought it.
Yeah, it's actually a really, really good surprise. I bought it from a dealer that bought it on auction, so he knew nothing about it. All I had was the Carfax on it, which can still be pretty vague. So I popped it open underneath, and I could see what's going on there, and had some nice parts in there. And I don't know about the engine, if it's been rebuilt or not, but everything runs exceptionally well. I just took it on a 740-mile trip down to Central Texas, pulling my camper. It did really well for an old truck. Didn't give me any problems, except in downtown Fredericksburg. Luckily, I wasn't towing or anything. The truck just shut off completely.
Oh no!
In the middle of the road, and I'm like, "Uh-oh!" My wife's sort of freaking out, and so I put it in park and started back up, fired right back up. I'm like, okay, so I turned the corner, shuts off again. I was like, oh no. But there's like no power, no nothing. Like all electronics are off. So I get up under there and I grab the power cable, battery wire, and everything came back to life. So it's just got a battery cable that's got a short in it, and I got to get it replaced. So other than that, yeah, it's ran really well, and it had a handful of problems. Brakes were soft. And everything I've done, all the problems with it have been fixed either for free or very cheap. I had to replace almost all the light bulbs. They're just burned out. That cost me about $40, and everything else has just been general maintenance and things like that, getting it going. The tach didn't work, but I Googled that, and it turned out to be a pretty common problem that you can fix for free. So if you have a third generation Ram truck, whether it's a gas or a diesel, it's the same thing. If it has a problem, send us an inbox, because I can help you get that fixed for free, rather than taking it to a shop and paying them hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, that's always the goal, is to get it fixed on the cheap.
Yeah, so far it's been cheap and free repairs for it, and it's been an excellent truck that I bought really cheap. So and I'm going to continue to throw pretty much cheap stuff at it. It's going to get turbos, but it's not going to be your high end precision turbos. And it's going to get the works, but everything's pretty much going to be on the down low. But this isn't my first time with a Cummins, so I pretty much know my way around it fairly well. And everything's should flow together really well. And it's going to be a fairly powerful, fun daily driver and towing rig for us to enjoy, and hopefully tow some race cars around once Chris gets to Texas.
Hell yeah. So you said turbos, you going twins? You going for the trifecta? What are we doing here?
So I've got my eye on a 6-cylinder. So the truck comes with a factory, I believe it's like a 54, it might be a 56 millimeter turbo. It's the HE 341 on the early Cummins, or 03. So I have my eye on a 62 millimeter turbo, and I'm probably going to start with that, see how I like it. And that's really good to like the mid-range 500 horsepower area. At the wheels.
just casual 500 horse.
Yeah. And that's probably over 1,000 pound-feet of torque as well, or right around it anyways. So I'm going to do that first. And then if I feel like I need more air, then, it might get a second turbo. We'll see how it goes.
Right on. Well, I eagerly await the updates on that. Also, Brandon's been posting quite a bit on the new Instagram, so make sure you guys give him a follow. There are some electric vehicle updates, aren't there?
Yeah, I'll take this. I've been kind of on the fence about a lot of this electrical stuff. Like, it's kind of exciting, but at the same time, there's a lot of speed bumps that everybody's trying to overcome. And I think one of the big things is that, like, in theory, it's like, I don't have to buy gas anymore. Right. And so you're like, okay, I'm just electric, you plug it into your house. It's fairly cheap. Right. But, you're not always at home to plug in, and, you just you're at the grocery store or wherever doing your shopping, you plug into one of these superchargers that are out there, and that costs money. And I didn't really know much about it. And I still honestly don't know that much about it, but just reading this article here, just trying to get brushed up on the news on it. And they're basically saying, like, I believe this is a Ford Pass charging network. I think, Tesla's got their own stuff too, but I believe they all charge about the same.
I think the Teslas are free to use.
Well, I know that they have like some sort of if you bought the Tesla, you get some sort of membership with it. I don't know the real details on it, but they're not everywhere. So sometimes you just got to take what you can get where you're at. And so some of these things they're saying, like, this certain charging spot, they paid $13.29 for approximately 83 miles of range on their charge. And, saying, that took them from 44% to just above 80% charge. And trying to compare it to a gasoline engine, assuming you get roughly 25 miles per gallon at $3 per gallon of gas, you get approximately 112 miles of range. And like you were saying earlier, before we started recording, that that's pretty relative, because like here in the DFW and Texas area, gas is closer to $2.50 a gallon. And, today I went and filled up for, I believe, like $3.45 a gallon. And so in some areas where you're at, it's well over $3. So,
yeah,
I guess it's all relative to where you're at, but I guess power can be a little bit different too. But it seems that unless you're charging at home, or you have one of those like Tesla memberships where they're charging for free, which in my eyes didn't seem really sustainable if they have hundreds of thousands of cars on the road. But
yeah,
maybe I'm wrong. I don't know if this is like an initial selling point for it, but I feel like that can't last forever. It just can't. They're gonna have to start charging to charge your vehicle at some point in time. But it seems like right now, unless you have one of those memberships, you're actually paying more per mile in some cases, but not all.
Right. And depending on where you live and how you're getting your power, like it may be more harmful to the environment than just driving a gas vehicle. Like the Northeast, for example, is pretty like coal and oil reliant. Yeah. So, I mean, relatively dirty energy versus the Northwest Seattle area, where it's, a lot of wind and sustained hydroelectric, a lot of like renewable energy. So, I mean, it's all unfortunately being dug out of the ground by children in Africa. So it all comes with a pretty high cost, like no matter how you look at it. But I don't know. It's such a sticky situation, because it's like, I feel like it's like veganism. There's some people that do it just so they can like throw it in your face, like the morality of it. And some people do it because they honestly feel that it's better for the environment and stuff. But it gets sticky. I don't really remember where I was going with that.
Well, in further, this article does say, the EV stuff is still pretty new. So, and there's not a lot of charging stations. They're saying it's way underperforming in like delivering power stations throughout the nation. And I don't even know what it's like for the rest of the world, but I do know that here where I live and on this 700-mile road trip I just took, I don't remember seeing any charging stations. And I'm normally pretty aware of my surroundings when it comes to anything car related. And I didn't see any. I also did not see any electric vehicles, which basically is just Teslas right now, on the road, on this road trip, and this is like out in the middle of nowhere, Texas. Right. You can't do it. I mean, unless you have a full charge and you know exactly where you're going, you go straight to that destination so that you can charge up again to get to the next spot. You're just taking too big of a risk and hoping that you can do it. And in this article as well, they're talking about how Tesla is, they're saying you get X amount of range on a charge, but in actual testing, it's delivering less range than they're saying. But in other cases, like Porsche, they tested their new EVs and they're actually getting more range out of them. So, I think Tesla is kind of under delivering right now, and a lot of these other guys, maybe they took a little longer to come out, but it's a little more refined, I think.
Yeah, that's the problem with being a trailblazer, is you're the one out front making all the mistakes. So
that's true.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not to say that Tesla couldn't be doing better or whatever. I don't fucking know, but it's my nature to play devil's advocate, no matter if I agree with the point or not.
Sure.
The next thing we have, and then we'll get out of here, was my stoner question of the week. While I was watching a YouTube video, I was thinking about straight sixes and how RBs rev to the moon and 2Js, and they sound so awesome. But then like Cummins, they redline at what, 35?
32 for majority of them, I believe is the.
Yeah. So, and then I was thinking, what like
what prevents them from revving that high?
Yeah, because they're both. I mean, they're both. Obviously, they ignite differently, but it's still a straight 6 configuration.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, most the 2Js and everything are half the displacement of a Cummins, but I didn't think that alone should prevent it from like a third of the revs.
When you had originally asked that, I think I initially overthought it, and I was like, well, the biggest thing to make these things go and get power with extremely high fuel rail pressure, it takes a lot of injection pump to make all this power to deliver it to the engine. So I was thinking maybe it's just being able to deliver enough pressure to the fuel system to make it continue to rev and continue to fuel it to higher RPMs. But then, I think there's maybe not just that to take into account, like we were reading a minute ago about the longer strokes. So typically, throughout history on any engine, longer stroke engines typically struggle to accomplish higher RPMs as opposed to something similar with a shorter stroke engine. So I think there's a lot of things holding it back, but ultimately I think they still can rev fairly high. Maybe they're just not going to be quite as efficient up high. And the diesel fuel does tend to burn a bit slower and more controlled than gasoline as well.
Yeah. Just in a quick Google in doing the show, that they're saying typically diesels do have a longer stroke, which again is a struggle for RPMs. Like F1 cars, for example, to go back to that, they rev to like 13,000 RPMs, but they have this crazy tiny stroke. It's this big pancake piston that moves a very short distance, and that's what they have nitrogen filled valve springs and all this other craziness. Yeah. But so that was our thought for the week. You got anything else before we get out of here?
I believe that'll do for today.
All right, everybody, we're trying this new shorter format, so every episode is more action packed. But don't forget to like and subscribe. We will post the links to all the social media and whatnot in the description below. But thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.